Welcome back, 3D design students. In this video, we're going to continue working on our landscape. We're going to import some FBX grass objects, and we're going to set them up and scatter them onto our meadow surface. We may not get to the scattering part in this video because setting these things up takes a little bit of time. I also wanted to share with you that I decided to use a different texture on my meadow because I thought that maybe having a texture that looked more like this would be better, since my grass is going to be pretty uniform and probably a lot brighter than the background. So I decided to use a sort of a browner texture than I had originally thought. So in order to do this portion of the lesson, you're going to have to download and unpack the grass folder from the link that's in this assignment. And once you unzip that folder and open it, you will have something that looks like this. And inside this folder, we have several different iterations of grass that look like this. We also have the textures for the grass, and all of these are going to use just the same texture, which looks like this. So all of these grasses will have the same texture and one material. And then we have six different variations of grass, and under each variation, we have 2 levels of detail. That's what LOD stands for. 0 is the highest, and 1 is one step below that. And these are meant to be used in video games so that when you're far away from something, it doesn't have to render all the detail. I know you've experienced that in playing games yourself. But this is not a game. This is just a render of one frame, so we can use whatever we want. I'm going to look at the preview here for a second. And I think that I want to get this one. And if they're in order, then that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be number 5. So that's the one I'm going to use. You can use whichever one you want. So I'm going to select number 5 and make sure that I understand where it is. And then I'm going to go to File, Import, and I'm going to find that folder and select number 5, LOD1. And that will bring up this dialog here, and we can just click Import. And here is the grass object that I just imported. It's quite large and in the middle of my scene. I'm going to move it over to one side and then push F on my keyboard to focus on it. Now it doesn't need to be that big, obviously, so let's go ahead and scale it down. Then I'm going to move it over a little bit and up so I can see what it looks like in relation to the grass or the meadow that I have here. That's still a little big, so I'll scale it down a little bit more. Maybe even a little more. Then I'm going to move it off to the side here and push F on my keyboard to focus on it one last time. And I've moved it up, so I'm going to go to the channel box and zero out the Y position so it's down on the ground, and push F on my keyboard. And now we need to set up the material for this. So let's right click on it and assign a new material, and we're going to assign an Arnold standard surface shader. And then let's select the material and take a look at it. And we're going to have to put a map on the color, the roughness, the normal, which is under geometry here, under the bump, and we'll have to put one on the opacity, which is also under the bump. The opacity maps are going to make the grass look pointed. Notice they're just square planes right now. So the opacity map is essential. So one of the things we need to do to make this work is under the geometry tab, under the geometry rollout of the shader, we need to check thin walled. And then we need to come up to the shape node for the grass, open up the Arnold rollout, and uncheck opaque, because this is going to have an opacity map on it. And then we need to open up the project folder that you created for this project, and open up the source images folder in the project folder. And then you need to open up the folder that you expanded for these grass objects, find the textures, and bring all of these into the source images folder. We don't need these TX files, just the JPEGs. Then we can close these two. Select the material. Let's go ahead and rename this material grass. So now when we select the material and select the color node and select file, it should go straight to the source images folder and our textures will be right there. Now you can't see this texture in the viewport yet unless you turn on display shaded in the viewport, which is this little checkered ball button here. Now you can see that I have sort of a grass texture on my grass. So let's back out of this node and let's put the roughness map on. Let's back out of that node, go to the geometry node, and let's put the opacity map on. Now the opacity map doesn't work. You can clearly see the black areas around where the grass, the black area should not be displayed around the tip of the grass. So what you need to do to fix that is come up to Renderer, select the Viewport 2.0 options, and change the transparency algorithm from whatever it is to alpha cut. Click select and close, and you can clearly see that now the alpha map or the opacity map is working. And we have one more map to put on here. Let's select the bump mapping node here, and we're going to select the bump value map and put the normal map on here. And then we need to change the normal map from sRGB to raw. And we need to change use as here to tangent space normal. Go back another level. And let's change the color map that we used to raw as well. And you can clearly see that brightens it up quite a bit. Now, this may not be the best object to use for this, so I encourage you to bring in other variations and do the same process. We've already done the material, so when you bring in another variation, you can simply apply the material to it. Let me show you how to do that. We'll go to File, Import, find that folder that we unzipped, remember, they come in very large. And now to fix this one, all we have to do is right-click, assign existing material, grass, and it is done. So bring in some more levels of detail for the grass model that we provided for you so that we can have some different models to play with when we scatter it. And in the next video, we'll use the MASH instancing system to scatter these objects on our meadow, and I'll see you then.